Recording in progress.
Okay. I just need to pin myself here. Okay, hi. We are starting, I think. Oh, there we go. Okay, so hi, welcome back to Think Differently. I'm excited to be here today. It's December. It's just a very, surreal time of year. But I feel like last week we didn't have these events and I just very much missed them. We've only done these since August, but man, like 2 weeks in, I was like, okay, I'm in a routine. Like, I love this. I'm having the best time with you guys. So thank you for everybody who's been here live and on the replay. And these will continue into the next year. I'm working on the dates for January. I think I'm going to pull back and do maybe just 2 a month instead of 3 or 4. So look out. If you joined this, you'll be on my email list. So I'll let you know when the next one is. Probably on the 9th of January, but I'm not there yet. It's the 5th of December. So, but welcome back. If you don't know me, my name is Laura Livingston. I'm a business and mindset coach, and I help people grow and build and grow and scale healthy and profitable businesses that they actually want to show up in and doing work that they love. And today's topic, I called it the year in review and what to take into 2025 to grow your revenue. So what I'm going to do today, and then next week's topic, I've got one more person joining. And then next week's topic is very similar. So I'm doing a little bit of a year in review today, mostly around like broad strokes, what I'm seeing in my clients' businesses, what we've done that worked well, and what I want to recommend that you take with you into 2025. Hi, welcome. And then also just industry. I'm not going to talk about like what shifts I've seen in the industry this year. Because I've talked about that before. So if you want to hear kind of my thoughts on things, there's some other Think Differently's that I can point you to. So let me know in the chat or hit reply. If you're on the replay, just hit reply to the email that sent you this and let me know, and I'll send you a replay to a link to those replays. So a lot less of a like what happened in 2024 and more like, cool, what's working and what do we want to keep doing? Okay, so it's pretty action focused. But and I've talked about this a good bit this year, on and off, but because it's December, I've just been doing a lot of reflecting on what's been working for my clients. Like, we have had really good years collectively, and I'm hearing a lot of people tell me that they are not. And so I don't think that we're special unicorns, even though of course we are. But I do think it's important to just represent, like, in any economy, there are businesses that are doing well and businesses that are not, right? In a real estate market, right? There's a buyer's market and a seller's market. And like, when's the best time to invest is when it's when it's a seller's market. So like, all things can be true. And I just really want to be I like to shoot the shit and talk real. And I like to tell you when stuff is hard. And today I'm really just focused on freaking what's working, because that is what's working. And I don't want to contribute to the stories that I think have become a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy especially out online. So what's working? So I'm going to talk to you about that today, specifically talking about what I'm seeing behind the scenes in my clients' worlds. So just really quickly, I'm working with people I have a lot of people. I would say 50 to 60% of my clients are either coaches, therapists, body workers, healers, or they are marketing professionals. So a large number of them fall into those two categories, just so you know who I'm talking about. And then the remaining, like, let's say 40 to 50% of my clients are really all over the map. I have served restaurants. I have served agency and consultancy, several agency and consultancy models that have 10, 15 employees, really, really different. So my point is, I'm talking across the industries. I'm not just talking about people who are running online businesses. I'm not just talking about coaches. I want to be really, really clear about that. Yeah. And then there was somebody that submitted a question already that I'm going to make sure I answer because she can't be here live. But if you're live, ask any questions as we go in the chat. You don't even have to raise your hand, just interrupt me. We can have a little chat. And one other thing that I always forget to say. So let me just quickly say, I've been doing this for the last couple of months. So those of you who are live, you will get entered to win. I'm giving away a free mini coaching session. So these used to be things, first half of the year, I was really giving them away to like as many people as I could, which by the way is part of my strategy that I'm gonna talk about next week. And now I just don't have the availability to give them away to the whole world. And so now they are more giveaways. So if you've had one before, usually these are one-time deals. But I'm waiving that for this because I really want to not take you out of the running if you've had a free session. So you can have a free session. All you have to do is show up. Just say something to me in the chat because that's how my team and I will track who attended so that I don't have to remember that. So just just say hi and you will be entered to win. And then I will draw them. I don't know this month because it's a weird month, but you'll get entered to win every time you join this month. And then at the end of the month, that might be the 20th of January this time, but I will reach out to you and I'll draw a winner for the month. So you're entered to win. Okay. I think I covered everything that I wanted to in my little preface. So a couple of things about what I'm going to say today. If you're looking for a magic bullet, I'm not going to give you one. Like there is no magic secret. And I just don't roll that way. But I also think it's funny. I've had several people reach out to me and say, thank you for sharing that you are doing well and that your clients are doing well on the whole. And I also put a post out. I don't remember what it was about, but what I remember were the responses. I talked about how much stronger my mindset is for myself and for my business this year and how I've really doubled down on that. And I'm a mindset coach, so I really doubled. And someone I got several messages back like, what are you doing for your mindset? And I got several messages back of like, what's happening? How are you guys doing so well? And so this is my answer, but the answer is, it's different for everybody. The answer is just like, and I want to say it's kind of like the question of like, how do you be a good parent? How do you have a solid, strong, supportive marriage? Like, I cannot give you a one-sentence answer to that, right? And like my mindset stuff, like I could tell you what I'm doing right now, but that's not what I was doing 3 months ago, and that's all by design. And you know, my clients' businesses are, as we just said, so many different industries. Some people are in their like second year of business, and some are like 20 years in, running 2 or scaling. One client has scaled back from running 2 and is now running 1, and so we're growing. We've just got more time to grow that 1. I mean, there are just no rules here. So what works is just what works for you and your business right now, and I'm just going to keep saying that. And what I'm going to tell you is like stuff that's been working for a long, long time, but all that is to say, I do have some things to share. And these are just the things that I feel like are rising to the top where I can say almost every single one of my clients did this year. Almost every single one of my clients had to address this year. And because what I do see across the board, again, this is not a fair statement, but like there are a lot of industries where this is a buyer's market. And so because we have that in common, and I think that's been the hardest thing for a lot of businesses this year, because if it used to be a seller, any adjustment, right? We get used to one and then we have to shift. So we'll talk about kind of how I've been addressing that in my business next week. I'll be talking about all about my business next week. And then this week, just sort of common themes. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. Yeah, so this is my second best business year ever in 7 years. And I pretty much already hit that in October, just based on what I had made and what I knew I would make, and also what I don't think I will make. So I went ahead and declared this is my second best year, but TBD, we still got 4 more weeks. And I've had one of my clients just in October as well. October was a crazy month. 2 of my clients reached their highest income levels ever in their whole career. So whether it was corporate or running a business, like ever. One just exceeded her corporate salary and one had her best year ever. All 3 of us reached that mile marker in the month of October. And then, as I said in my email to promote this, it's right at about 80% of my clients right now, I can say, are either like solidly sustaining their income from last year, which means not dipping, totally holding their own, or have really increased their revenue. And so again, I just want to speak to, and the other 20 to 25% are people that have worked with me for less than 6 months, and I'm not counting them because I don't think that's fair. So all that is to say, we have lots of good news over here, and we just I want to share like what is working. Okay, enough prefaces, Livingston, get into it. So number one, what's working? And what to take into 2025. And frankly, I don't want to say I'm glad, that's not the right way to say it. I think I'm really glad that my clients and I focused on this year, because I think this year what we did around this thing that I'm about to say is not only serving us this year, but will make us infinitely better business owners in the long run. And I think 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, this actually makes me want to cry now. I think 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we will look back on what we did this year in this one area, and we will say that we really got it. Like, we're getting impact now, but we're really going to get the impact later. And that is, we've focused on building our skills for a buyer's market. And I think it's really important to look at it that way, as like, oh, that means it's just something I can learn, versus like, I'm just a victim to the algorithm, which is a common complaint I'm hearing from this year. So we've not just built, frankly, I think the skills that go into a buyer's market are the very simple foundational business isn't secret. Like, there's no secret formula. There's good things to do, but I think the real story underneath like what works in a buyer's market is just the basic business principles that work all the time. The people who have really done it this year, I think, and out of necessity or just out of business savviness, the people who have focused on that this year are just adding to their skill set to manage to make you whatever, what is it called? Like recession proof, or, the more you can learn how to run your business now versus how you learned how to run your business 2 years ago versus how you need to run your business 2 years from now, all of those moments will serve you in being able to run it in the long run and to keep sustainability and to keep growing. And that's really what I'm here to help my clients do and to stand for. I hope that you have an awesome, like, biggest month ever, best quarter ever, pop moment, all of the things, but I don't really care about a pop moment or your revenue. I care about, are you sustainably profitable? And profit's more important than revenue. And so again, if we're focused on basic business principles, that's going to work in a buyer's market and a seller's market. Okay, so a couple things. What does that mean, Laura? Like, what do you mean? So buyer's market skills, I could probably do 4 days on this topic, but I think there's 3 things that come to the top for me. One is spending more time on your sales process. More time and focus and energy. Again, it's the thing that you started when you started your business. It's never going away. Even if you outsource it, right? Like, even my clients who have agency models and they have salespeople, there's still a focused attention on that. That's just different this year. Because if it's a buyer's market, what it means right now is most of the time, and I don't want to create a story, but most of the time it just means the sales cycles are longer. It also means usually the market is more saturated. So like coaches, right? Like 10 years ago, if I told somebody I was a coach, they were like, so like baseball teams, like they didn't know what that was. Now people know what I do because that's great. The industry is going nowhere. I mean, it's not going away. It's going to always hopefully be here. So great job security, but also now there's competition, right? And so just as an example with coaches, right? But that's not just for coaches. So if sales cycles are longer, one, knowing that is really helpful so that you don't like quit while you're ahead or assume that somebody isn't going to buy when it's just taking them 3 months longer to buy. That's sort of what I've noticed. It used to be 3 to 6 month sales cycle for me, and now I'm more like 3 to 12 month cycle depending on the person. And I have a high ticket offer, so that is definitely more of a thing for high ticket offers, even more so. And so, right, for me to like talk to somebody about working with me, and then if they don't say yes within the first week or two, me to just go, okay, well, they're never going to work with me and I'm never going to follow up and there's no conversation and I'm not going to nurture that relationship and I'm just going to move on. Like I'm wasting, like that's gold right there that I'm ignoring. So sales cycles, paying attention to your sales cycle. I'll probably do a whole conversation about this next year, but what's your customer journey? How do people go through your sales process? What's your follow-up process? I'm very big on follow-up. I've always been big on follow-up, but I feel like that's really big this year in terms of what's working. And again, just getting really clear and intentional on how do people go through my sales process, and then looking at your data and what's working and what's not, right? So if you're still making sales, it's just longer. That doesn't mean it's not working, right? Or if people aren't coming in or they're only coming in through one way, then that can let you know, now we're kind of getting into marketing and funnels, but that kind of lets you know where to spend your time. So buyer's market skills, a couple things under each of these. One is sales, one is marketing. I'm going to come back to marketing in a minute. The other is doing less better, or better said, having a focus. And so, for example, in that place where I was saying, like, if you look at your sales cycle and how people are coming in and walking through your customer journey, if you're noticing they're mostly coming from one or two areas, oh my God, double down on that. Versus like, oh, nobody, like for me, I've way prioritized my events and LinkedIn over Instagram and Facebook, because I looked at my data and that's where more people were coming from. And so it doesn't mean that I'm not, well, I don't usually use Facebook anymore, but it doesn't mean that I'm not also on Instagram, but I just have a priority. Because I just went, and so I could have said, oh crap, Instagram's not working for me. I better go relearn. And Instagram, by the way, has changed so much. It's probably the platform that's changed the most, I feel like, this year. So now I have to relearn Instagram. Or I could just look at my data and realize that more people are coming from LinkedIn and just spend more of my time and focus there and nurture there. So kind of like leaning into what the data is telling you versus trying to make what's not working or what's working less well work. So that prioritization, that focus, that doing less and better has been the thing that keeps working this year. Again, these are things that have always worked. And I work with a lot of, not all my clients, I don't know, maybe, I'm going to make this up, maybe 25% of my clients have a very part-time schedule. Like their lives are either requiring them, whether it's childcare or health issues or whatever, or they just want to enjoy their lives and they want to work part-time. And so having like efficiency in how we spend our hours has always been a big thing for the work that I do with my clients behind the scenes, and that's always happening. But it's more just like taking that and doing it more. And so what I want to say with that is most of the time we're not saying we're doing less, meaning we're not working the same number of hours. I'm not talking about like your workload or like how much time you're spending in your business. I'm saying with the allocated hours that you're using in your business, we're using those hours to do fewer things, which therefore gives us the ability to focus more of those hours on improving. So in my example, I can do better at LinkedIn because I'm not worrying about Instagram. So all of the hours I might have spent on both, I can just send them all over to LinkedIn, as an example. And then when I get to Instagram, or when my VA schedule's on Instagram, like we're still putting stuff there. It's just not the priority, and that brain space and that focus lets me to keep doing better and better on LinkedIn. Same with offers. Focusing your offers. Meaning, you can have a lot of offers, you can have a full offer suite. But one, do you have a priority within your business? What do you know that you're trying to sell? What's your intention that you really want to, do you want to, like, versus like, oh, I just want to sell them all the time. Having a cohesive offer suite, I'm going to do a masterclass on this next year. Having a cohesive offer suite that sells what you want it to sell. And then that means that you know what your focus priority is, and you know that when you're promoting something, it's intended to help you build that pipeline to grow people along your customer journey. But what that means from this perspective of focus is that we're not trying to sell too many things at the same time. Because look, here's the logic behind that. If the market's saturated, then that means not all your posts on social media are getting to all of your people, even your followers, which means they can't keep up if you're selling different things every week or even every month. Depends on your business model. But giving your audience, realizing one, that they're gonna need to hear it multiple times, and two, you're gonna need to put it out multiple times for them to hear it multiple times. That then if we just keep changing what we do, they don't get to know us for the thing that we want them to know us for. They don't get to know us for the thing that we're trying to sell. So again, these are basic business principles, but I'm just saying, like, in this market, repetition, tell people what you do, be known for something, all that. It's so much easier when you're just focused on one offer at a time. And there's a lot of strategy to that I'm working with my clients on, and I'm not going to dive into that today, but I think it's just an important sort of piece to help you think about the word focus. I don't mean like, do you feel scattered and you're not focused? I mean, how are you focusing your time and your offers as you put them out into the world through your marketing and your sales? If that is focused, it just gets there faster. It sells better faster. Same thing, doing less better, having a focus, spending the same amount of hours on writing content, but putting out less content and making your content better. Great example. A couple of my clients used to do like post every day. And in order to do that, they had like, let's say 1 or 2 posts a week that were pretty generic and quick. Like they slapped up a quote and stuck it out there and blah, blah. The saturated market, like that's just not, people are like, okay, that's a nice quote, and they just move on. Versus I'm gonna put out 2 posts a week, I'm making this up, right? 2 posts a week instead of 5, 3 posts a week instead of 5, even 1 post a week instead of 3, if depending on your capacity and your time. But that 1 post is like, you've actually spent extra time making it really good, speaking to your audience, talking about your problem, selling your stuff. That's working better. So again, same number of hours, but less like output, more focused attention, doing less better. And then again, I already spoke to this, but like prioritizing a platform feels really, that might just be my one like industry tip for selling things online, because all the platforms have all been a little bit different over the years, but this last 12 to 18 months in particular, it feels like they are really differentiating themselves from one another. And so giving yourself the permission to prioritize a platform that has really worked. In my world, at least. It doesn't mean that you're only on one platform, but we're spending more time and energy learning what that platform needs from us versus trying to feed 18 algorithms. Again, focus, doing less, but doing it really, really well, doing it better. Doubling down on what's working. Okay, so that was sales, and then that was focusing. From a marketing standpoint, okay, I've already said a couple things, the saturation. So like even if you're posting less, if you're spending more time and intention around that posting, that's what I'm seeing is working better. Same with the platforms. Yeah, the other thing I want to say about marketing before I get into mindset is, but I think these kind of go together. Like I said, I'm hearing a lot of complaints about the algorithm changes. because people feel like, oh my God, I'm just a victim to the algorithm and now it changes again and then I have to rework my strategy and like, yes, kind of. And there's a woman I follow on Instagram, Shannon McKinstry, I think it is. If I can find her, I'll share it. Anyway, she has a podcast that she calls Good Content. And I just love her message because she basically says like, the algorithm used to reward good content. Guess what? The algorithm still rewards good content. If you just focus on putting out good content. Yes, there's some tips and tricks. And if you're on Instagram, videos are performing better, blah, blah, blah. There's definitely some things that you can do. And I'm not saying don't do them. But as far as your mindset and your focus and your strategy is concerned, if you can spend some time and energy, focused attention, putting out good content, your people will see it and it will work. And so therefore that mindset piece of like feeling like you're a victim to the economy, to the buyer's market, to the algorithm, right? To whatever your circumstances are, when we feel like we are in full on responsive mode, or we feel like we are not in control of our environment, or we feel like we're a victim to something. And I'm using the victim word a little bit too dramatically, just bear with me, but right, that feeling of like, oh crap, this changed, this happened to me, now I have to do more stuff, right? When we have that mindset, we have to honor it. We have to get mad. We have to grieve it. We have to do what we need to do. But ultimately, taking the time and energy to work with yourself around those feelings so that you can shift that mindset from, I don't even know, like, WTF, everything's changing and I'm just sort of like a hamster on a wheel, like bounce, or like a, what do you call those? Like those bouncing balls bouncing around the room. Like I don't know where I'm going, versus like I just have a strategy and I have good content. I'm going to put out good content and I'm going to trust myself to learn more about what's working on Instagram right now and then do some of that. That feels right for my business, right? That's a much more empowered approach. And I think those moments of having to adjust to the market is one thing, and I don't want to diminish that, but it's also, again, I said today we're going to talk about, so what do you do about it? What do you do about it is you work on your mindset. And let me go back to my 3 things today. 1 is building buyer's market skills. 2 is doubling down on your mindset, because in a buyer's market, mindset is freaking everything. If you think it's not working, then how are you going to take action around what's changing, right? Back to this long sales cycle, right? If I meet somebody for a discovery call and then 2 weeks later, I don't hear back from them and I just assume that they're out and I just move on, I'm like missing gold of a business opportunity to close that might take 3 to 6 months of relationship building. And we can talk about what that is another day, but I could be missing that, right? If my mindset just goes, they don't like me, never mind, I'm a victim to my circumstance, right? And I move on. So the mindset piece is, I think, what has been the most valuable in terms of for myself and for my clients. And even I've seen this with my colleagues, because I do a lot of networking and I have a lot of small business owners that I talk with on a weekly basis. And I'm seeing that across the board, the people who have a mindset of like, okay, let me just figure this out. Okay, it's good. I got it. My strategy is fine. Those are the people that it is because they are. Okay, and then the only other thing I wanted to say around marketing that I'm seeing across the board is just that I kind of already said this when I was talking about focus, but really setting that intentionality. So I think what I've learned, what I've done this year, spoiler alert for next week's talk, one of the things that I did this year is I just decided at the beginning of the year that I was going to, my marketing has always been pretty good. In fact, I get a lot of feedback that I'm a good writer and that my content's good and whatever. And I guess it's easier to say like, okay, then I should just go solve some other problem. But what I have done all year, and I was like, no, it needs to be better. Not because I'm trying to prove something, not because I'm trying to be a perfectionist, but because that is just A, the thing that I want to learn to be better at. B, that is the thing that when I'm really on it, I sell like a mad woman. And I just want, and see, my audience has changed a little bit in the last couple of years, and I want to make sure that I'm still speaking to the people that I want to work with for me, and that I'm to those people that I'm actually speaking to them, right? That they actually feel like I'm speaking to them, that I'm using their language, that I'm talking about their problems, that I'm telling them what they want to hear or what they need to hear, right? And so I didn't start off the year with crappy marketing, but I started off the year with the intention to make it so much better. And my clients and I have been doing that. And that mindset, back to the mindset piece, this is just something I can get better at. This is just something I'm committed to getting better at. I hated the sales and marketing piece of business my first couple of years. Like, I really thought that my first goal was to hire a salesperson. When I started my business, if you asked me 7 years ago, I was like, yeah, I just want to make enough money to hire a salesperson so I don't have to do this shit anymore. Like, I didn't want to. When I was 26 or 27, coming out of graduate school, I have a master's in organization development, which essentially teaches this sort of human behavior psychology blended with organizational, kind of like an MBA. And we really focused on how organizations and people change over time. So we all went out to become consultants and coaches. And so I was like 26, 27, finishing graduate school, and a bunch of us were out to dinner. And that was the first time we started saying, like, we should just start our own consulting agency. Like, we don't want to work for these big companies. Let's just go start our own. Let's go do that. And I was like, I am in as long as somebody else will do the selling. Like, I literally said that. That was the first time I thought about really like starting my own business. Was like 20 years ago. And that was the first thing I didn't want to do. And so all I'm coming back, learning to love that process of being like, actually, I can just be good at it. In fact, it's my human, and frankly, it's my human behavior. For all my coachy psychology people out there, it's actually, sales is human behavior. So once I kind of got down with that, I got more excited and got more interested in it. But it's so something you can do. And it's also something that I think what I've heard from a lot of experienced business owners this year at all levels of income is that having to kind of go back to that and revisit that and refresh and go, oh, that shit worked for 3 years and now it's just not working anymore. That's a mind game, right? That's a mindset thing. That's a strategy thing. Yes, we need to take some action around that and evaluate what's happening and refresh our marketing. But the mindset behind that is oftentimes either what makes it a non-starter or what sets you on the path of, okay, I figured it out once, I can figure it out again. Times have changed. It's been 3 years, it's been 1 year, it's been whatever. I need to pick this back up. And that's not to say that I think people are just like not marketing and then now all of a sudden you have to. That we've always needed to do that, and most people I know have always done that. It's just that when you have the same strategy that you've worked and it starts to change in terms of the way that it works, when you don't have the ability to adapt and evaluate and make the shift, that's when things don't go well, and that's when your pipeline can dry up. And so that's been a lot of what we've been doing behind the scenes this year in my world and in my clients' world, is refreshing those pipelines. But that mindset of like, I guess the only other thing I want to add to this piece is like, it's that mindset that I keep hearing, and I had the same experience a couple of years ago of like, not that I'm like, think so great of myself, like this isn't to brag, but I feel like sometimes it gets to be this concept of I shouldn't have to do these like business starter things, these build, all the stuff you had to do the first year or two in your business to build a business. A lot of those things you don't have to do now, right? Like we get to compoundedly learn and benefit from all the seeds and foundational things that we planted in our business in the beginning. But we also just can't like, you have to maintain your house, right? We can't just let it sit and expect it to owe it, because environments change, people change, you change, your work changes, your team changes. And I think what the mindset piece that I've been working, some of my clients have been in a build phase. And so there's a mindset component around that we've worked on this year. But I think the piece that I'm trying to express today is when you find yourself kind of accidentally in a rebuild phase, I've been talking a lot this week in my content about comebacks. When you find yourself like, oh, it's time for a comeback, that mind game of, it's almost like you think you're going backwards, or like you're climbing down the ladder, so to speak, of like, I have to go backwards and like fix stuff because it's broken and I'm a mess and I'm a bad business owner and I made bad decisions. Or like you're in 12th grade and now you have to go back to 10th grade. That feeling of like you demoted yourself is a lot of the mindset stuff that I'm talking to clients about that has helped when we've looked at it and grieved it and sat with it and worked it, while also simultaneously figuring out what actually needs to take place in the business. Those two things really help each other heal and solve and move and grow. And so I guess what I want to say to you is, if you are in a rebuilding phase, one, now's as good a time as any. Two, I'd love to help you. And three, like, the cool thing is you already did this. Like, you already know how to do this. And it's more like getting out of your own way so that you can look at your business with fresh, like, non-jaded eyes, with a clear head, and look at what's actually happening so that you can just make the right changes. And it really is most of the time that simple to get it moving again, to get it shifted, to like turn the ship. But the mindset piece, tiny little thing. Okay, let me know if you have questions. I'm gonna just check my notes here. I'm almost, I think I covered, no, I did not cover everything. I almost covered everything. So what I want to say to this, I'm going to quickly recap and then I'm going to tell you my final thing. What I want to give to you in terms of taking this out into next year is, next year may not be a buyer's market. It could be a freaking seller's market. Look out. And these are skills that we always needed to learn. These are skills, frankly, that like you don't just learn. You learn and this is an ongoing skill set, right? Like mindfulness or mindset or happiness. Like you don't just arrive at happiness one day and like you get it. Like, no, you have to like freaking make that an intention. You have to keep saying no to stuff. You have to keep saying yes to stuff. You have to keep making intentions, right? You have to, it's like, and there's, that's, to me, that's very beautiful and that's empowering and you could just get to create whatever you want. So I guess where I'm saying is, even next year, no matter the market, if you spend some time every year in business focusing on buyer's market skills, holy crap. Like, and I guess the other thing that I've been saying with my clients, even my clients who like have had their best year ever, like what I'm actually so excited about is they all have room to scale. They all have room to grow from here. It's not like they're at max capacity. And so as we shift out of a buyer's market, whenever that is, oh my God, how many seeds have you planted this year? It's just really magnificent. And so that's the mindset I would love for you to take from this year. And I need to answer the question. So a wonderful human sent me a message when she signed up and had this question. And it is, how do you let go of not making the money you wanted to in 2024 so you can stay positive and focused on 2025? And so, one, the answer is grieve it, feel it, get mad, get sad, process that shit. That's real. And then when you're ready to shift into action, when you're ready to do something about it, number one, I want you to look back before you look forward. I want you to look back at all the seeds you planted and really let that be your mindset. takeaway from this year, whatever, if you've had, I feel like I've had a great year and I've also planted so many seeds, and that just feels so satisfying. I just got off a call with someone yesterday who has not had a good year, and actually she just signed up to work with me in January, and I'm very excited about that. And we talked about that. Like, how can we take this year that didn't feel good to you, or a quarter? We can apply this to any time in the world, right? It could be one quarter that you didn't have the financials that you wanted. Okay. What seeds did you plant? I bet you can find some good decisions that you made despite the circumstances. I bet you can find seeds that you planted. And if you can look at those things as seeds, right? The discovery call that didn't sell. Oh, well, maybe that was just a seed that I planted that I just haven't harvested yet. Now I can stop blaming myself and thinking I did something wrong, and instead be like, oh yeah, I'm a seed planter. It's just not time to harvest that one yet, right? So number one, grieve it and feel it, my friend, who did not have the money that she wanted this year. Number two, look back and find, and maybe just sit down and document for yourself, what seeds did you plant? And then three, make an action plan for what you want in 2025, but also what action you're going to take to get that. And I think sometimes the very first action you get to do is, if you can look at those seeds you planted, now what do you need to do to nurture them into fruit that you can pick? Which brings me, thank you for that question, brings me to my final piece, which is what's working. And everybody gets mad at me when I say this. What's working is personal outreach. Okay, that's always what's worked, right? Remember door-to-door salesmen in the past? But what's working is personal outreach. And so let me just keep that same example of, if I have a discovery call that hasn't sold in 2 weeks, to me, that doesn't mean shit. If I have, let's say I'm this person who didn't make the money that I wanted to last year, and I do my grieving, and then I look at my seeds that I planted. Maybe I'll go, oh, I forgot about that discovery call. I really wanted to work with that person. I haven't heard from them in a few months or weeks or whatever your follow-up process is. Everybody's is different. I'm going to reach back out and see how they're doing and see if there's something I can help them with, right? And that's where that personal, first off, that's just what works. People need to be followed up with, not in a sleazy way, but in a helpful way. That's part of the sales process. The sale that I made yesterday, we've been talking since September. And I have like email string of, 10. Some I reached out, some she reached out, but we have an email string of like 10 things. That's not wrong. She's not indecisive. There's nothing, it's just timing. And she frankly thanked me for supporting her in her thought process. So, and had she hired me sooner, I don't actually think she would have been ready. And so, can we just make all that right? But man, you guys, here's the other thing that I always ask my clients when we first start working with each other is, what's your low-hanging fruit? And if you don't know that's your homework assignment, who are the people that have had a discovery call with you, or have bought your low ticket offer and you would like them to buy your high ticket offer, whatever your business model is? Who are the people that are your super warm, hot leads who said yes, but not right now? Or maybe I got to think about it, or I've actually had a lot of no's turn into yeses, but not because I reached out. So I'm going to save that for another time. But is there someone that you could follow back up with? Is there someone that's in your sales pipeline who just, if you're a networking person, this is another great one. If there's somebody in your sales pipeline who you've had a discovery call with in the past, and they send you a private message about your vacation or what, oh my God, put that as your priority. Continue to nurture that relationship as it presents itself in that organic way, versus I tried to sell this person, they didn't buy yet, and now they're messaging me about my vacation. Can we make that right? Can we make that part of the sales process? That's actually how I prefer to do it. I had a woman reach out to me and wanted to pick my brain about traveling because she knows I'm a traveler. And then she asked me what my coaching was like. Like, I had no idea that's where she was going. I don't know if she had planned that. Connection just works, and especially if you are a service provider, especially if you provide one-on-one services, but this is not at all unique to one-on-one. But I'm just saying, if you're any one of these people, this is even more important because you are not just your brand, but you are what they're buying, but your services are what they're buying, which means they're buying that relationship with you. And when I don't know, like if you're dating, like you don't usually get married in the first week. Like it takes time to develop that relationship. And so let's just like make that right. And I'm going to come back full circle because it's a buyer's market, because it's saturated, because not all of your followers are seeing your stuff on social media. And because frankly, like there's some goodness about the stuff that's changing on social media, which is just, we actually want real connection. Like, we just can't, we've got too much to process. Lost my train of thought, hold on. So because of that, what I find is like people who used to be able to just quickly sell on social media, that's taking a little, like people are actually wanting a discovery call and wanting to like have a conversation and like wanting a little more time. Buyers are more discerning, which I don't think is a bad thing. But because of that, because people want to buy from a real person, not AI, because it's saturated, because they're tired of your, posts that don't tell them anything, right? Because of all that, personal outreach is like, oh my God, like, oh, I know you, I like you, I'd like to respond to your message. That's also why it works. So I feel like that's a thing, again, not to follow up and tap people on the shoulder every single week. That's not follow up, and that's a conversation for another day. But when we do it organically, when we do it, when we're doing it at all, right? So many people leave money on the table because they're not following up at all. And I think that when we take the time and intention to do that, it builds a relationship, and you never know. Maybe that person will never buy from you, but they'll send you 3 clients next year. So just trusting that that's always going to be like the right answer. But it's also because that's actual interaction instead of AI fluffy social media interaction. People really appreciate that. And there's ways to do it and ways not to. And that's again, a topic for another day. But I just think that's a really, really important thing to say. And I think I've said it. We've been doing these things differently since August, and I think I've talked about follow-ups or personal outreach like every 2 or 3 times because it's just working. And everybody gets mad at me when I say that because it's like, yeah, I don't want, it's awkward, it's whatever, but like, what if you knew it worked? Like, what if you reached out to 5 people and one of them became a sale? Would you do it? Right? It's a different piece. And again, if you have had a season where you didn't have to focus as much on sales and marketing, this is again my clients and my colleagues who have had some bigger level, like 6 and multi-six figure businesses. Even I have a couple of $1 million clients from the past. Even them, like when they had like a sales, for example, they had a salesperson. Even in that, when you have to kind of go back and go, well, this worked, and why do I have to like, even if you have to like restart the marketing machine, if you will, sometimes the fastest way before you can restart, like I'm gonna make this up. Let's say you refocus and you move from Instagram to LinkedIn. That takes a minute, right? You gotta write some stuff, you gotta post, you gotta decide what your strategy is, you gotta figure out how you're gonna get stuff out. Oh my God, what if you just picked up the phone? Or Zoom picked up the phone and reached out to a former client? That is oftentimes like, that's your low-hanging fruit, right? And so again, that piece of there's probably low-hanging fruit, past clients, past discovery calls, past connections that you're just not looking at as seeds because you thought it didn't happen in a certain time frame. If that time frame is now longer, now you can look at it from a different perspective. Okay. Questions? Everybody's quiet today. Let me know if you have questions. Let me know if any of this feels. I would also be curious if you took some of this and like looked back now at your year and like, oh, I was doing that, right? Like, oh, okay, good. I know how to do that. I can just do more of it. But really and truly, like, I really think this whole buyer's market skill thing is like, it also just builds so much confidence from a mindset perspective of like, if I can do it in that year, holy crap, I'm a business owner. I'm a successful business owner. I just can trust myself to make an adjustment when I need to. Okay, I am going to check the chat for questions. I'm going to wrap up, and I'm going to tell you something because I always forget to do this. I'm booked for the rest of the year. I just sold my first. I had two. Yeah, I sold one spot for January. I have one more spot for January open, and then I will probably sell one. I think just one for February. So if you're interested in working together next year, now is a great time to talk. Whether we've talked before or whether we've never talked before, I would love to have you just book a free call. I've still got 6 more business days that I'm working this year. And then I've got plenty of space next year for a discovery call if you want. My calendar's open for January if you want to book a call and talk it through. And I would love to help you. So, all right, let me check the chat. This was fabulous. Have to run. Okay, good. All right, my friends. And next week, I'm talking about how I'm doing a little behind the scenes of my business. So I've never really done this before. So I'm just going to talk about like what strategic changes I made, what contributed to this being my second best year ever, and frankly, like what I'm not doing. I started doing some stuff, but I mostly have not made. I've mostly made small tweaks and adjustments. And so I just think it's an interesting like case study. So we're just going to use my business 2024 to do a little case study of what worked this year for me and take it for yourself what is appropriate. But again, I think there's just so many lessons in there about like what worked, but also like why it worked for me and why it worked for me right now is also the lesson. So I'll talk to you about that next week, and I will see you then.
Recording stopped.